Generosity Week is a great idea, but be warned, it can easily be ruined. We move so quickly from God's generosity to how we should be generous, and suddenly it becomes all about us and our activity and what we do, which is not helpful at all. Here's my recommendation instead. Stay with God's generosity this week. Just that. Savour God's giving to you all over the place. Bask in the sunshine of God's giftedness. Wallow in God's overflowing kindness like pigs in muck. Try it. Try just 5 minutes reflecting on a particular example of God's giftedness to you. Just sustain it for 5 minutes each day. Better still, 3 times a day, 5 minutes each. Over time, your neural pathways will be reset by this. God has sown bountifully in this world of ours. Have you noticed? Consider the lilies of the field or the birds of the air, to quote somebody. I mean, not just considered, but really stopped and attended. Allowed the loveliness to be absorbed, embraced, really taken in. It takes time, but that time changes us. It feeds our souls. It sings to us. It heartens us. Have you ever noticed how pebbles on a beach seem polished and pure as the tide recedes? Or a cobweb weaved on your wheelie bin shows extraordinary strength in bearing the dew on it? Do we have eyes to see and ears to hear, by which we filter reality? God has made provision for us to see his generous bounty or not. And God stitches this generosity into our world. I've just been reading The Secret Life of Trees and some classic examples of trees' generosity towards one another there, such as photosynthesis in undisturbed beech forests, where the rate of photosynthesis is the same for all trees, despite different locations and soil types. The equalization takes place underground through the roots. Shared generosity between the strong and the weak. A trace, surely, of God's generosity. And poets capture some of this too, like Edna St. Vincent Millay, who wrote once, "Lord, I have known a glory in it all, but never knew like this. Here is such a pattern as stretcheth me apart. Lord, I do fear thou hast made the world too beautiful this year. My soul is all but out of me. Let fall no burning leaf. Prithee, let no bird call." And of course, there's the small matter of ourselves. We are down to the fibres of our being, the generosity of God, the bountiful sowing of God. And all this reflects who God is. God the Trinity, that set of generous relationships lost in the glory of the goodness of their life together, generously gifting themselves to one another eternally in delight and joy, inviting us to be caught up in our lives in that life-giving dynamic. Bask in God's generosity in Generosity Week and watch its effects.